2 weeks ago, Russian government received a message from American intelligence. The Americans warned that they were terrorist groups operating in the country and they were ready to execute a terrorist attack. Vladimir Putin immediately mentioned the American warning in a public speech to Russian people. Here it is.
Напомню и о недавних, прямо скажем, провокационных заявлениях ряда официальных западных структур о возможности терактов в России. Все это напоминает откровенный шантаж и намерение запугать, дестабилизировать наше общество. Вы хорошо знаете об этом, сейчас не буду вдаваться в детали.
Provocative statements resembles blackmail, intention to intimidate and destabilize our society. That pretty much was the message. 2 weeks later, a group of armed gunmen entered a large concert venue in Moscow and started shooting all they could see. Then this happened with people inside. Current death toll, 137 people killed and 180 people wounded. At this point, there is one secret about this attack no one in Russia is talking about. And I think you deserve to know the truth. And the truth is so shocking that you will have a hard time believing it. But truth is the truth. In this video, I want to explain how this attack is a huge fail of Russian government and the KGB and the betrayal of Russian people. On March 22nd, a few men dressed in military uniforms and armed with automatic rifles got out of a car and entered a large shopping and entertainment venue called CROCUS City Hall, an expo building, a concert hall, and a shopping mall. Upon entering, the men started shooting everyone inside, regardless of age, gender, and race. They walked towards a large concert hall, executing everyone they encountered, entered the hall where thousands of people were gathering to see a concert of a popular Russian rock band called The Picnic. They shot a dozen of people inside the concert hall, then calmly set the building on fire and left unopposed. They got out of the building and took off in a car. Again, unopposed by anyone. Everything happened just as the Americans warned Russian security forces in early March. In my opinion, they were two horrendous crimes committed on March 22nd. The first crime was the terrorist attack itself, and the second crime was the betrayal of Russian people by their president, government, and the law enforcement agencies. Before I go any further, I want you to know that I have seen dozens of different videos of this horrible attack. The videos were filmed by regular people who were inside, who were under the attack, who were hiding, who were fleeing, who were crawling out of there. The videos are out there in the public. I will not show you any one of those videos here. I don't want to traumatize and disturb you. I don't even want to tell you what I have seen in those videos. Even if you find them in Telegram, in Twitter, or anywhere else, don't watch them. They'll break your heart. You won't be able to unsee that. It's that bad, yes. Now, this is what is known 48 hours later after the attack. We know that current death toll is 137 people killed and 180 people wounded, at least. The death toll is to rise because there are many people missing. Most likely they are buried under the roof that fell down. We know that they were multiple attackers. No one is sure exactly how many they were. The reports range from 4 to 11. Despite Moscow is completely covered by super advanced surveillance system. When law enforcement needs to identify peaceful protesters standing up against Putin and the current regime, they have no problem identifying every single protester in a blink of an eye. Even without pictures, by people's phones' locations, they can identify. But when they need to identify cold-blooded killers, the terrorists, and track their car, now all of a sudden neither the police nor the KGB can do that. Magic. We know that the attack was carried out in under 20 minutes. The terrorists were in and out. We also know that the special anti-terrorist units arrived and entered CROCUS concert hall 1 hour after the attack started, and around 40 minutes after the terrorists left. About 55 minutes late, the special units were. So you know, Rosguardia Riot Police Special Service Unit HQ is located only 2.5 miles from CROCUS concert hall. It can realistically take the special unit's 5-minute drive to arrive there, or they could walk to the venue in 30 minutes. In real life, it took them 55 minutes to arrive. We also know that Ukraine has nothing to do with the attack. Ukrainian president's representatives and the military leadership denied any involvement to this attack. I personally do not believe that Ukrainians would do such atrocity. And on top of that, Ukrainians simply do not benefit from this attack whatsoever. Quite on the contrary, they would lose a great deal of support that they are now enjoying. We know that Russian government and numerous Z personalities who are part of Russian propaganda immediately started suggesting that the Ukrainians were behind the attack. None gave any evidence whatsoever. They just started suggesting. That's how Russian propaganda conditions people. Among two highest-ranked Russian officials insisting that Ukrainians were behind the attack were Andrei Kartapolov and Viktor Bondarev. Senator Viktor Bondarev spoke at the time of the attack, as it was happening, calling what happened at CROCUS City Hall a terrorist attack and sabotage by Ukraine. The head of the Russian Parliament Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, called Ukraine and its patrons the main stakeholders in this terrorist attack. Their statements are obviously not true. Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs also suggested Ukrainians, and it was very odd, as it's none of Ministry of Foreign Affairs business to comment while domestic terrorist attack is happening, you know. We know that it was not a false flag attack. Initially, I thought it could be, and I've given it a thought, quite a few thoughts, and I think if it was, it would have been executed in an absolutely different way. There most likely, law enforcement would act faster in a more favorable way to show the public in a planned manner, and they would kill the attackers at the site of the attack to cover up the trails. What we're seeing right now, heck, the whole world is seeing that. The KGB simply soiled its pants. We know that Vladimir Putin made a public address 19 hours after the attack was carried out. He said that all 4 of the direct perpetrators of this terrorist attack were found and detained. He said that they tried to hide and move towards Ukraine, where a window was prepared for them from the Ukrainian side to cross the state border. Multiple reports are suggesting that there were more than 4 attackers. And one person was already detained, and his instant confession was obtained by the special services. And it's very questionable. There's also a video circulating of how the arrested person was tortured by the Russian law enforcement officer in a most brutal and barbaric way. I don't even want to tell you here how he was tortured. You know, that's another thing I just leave behind the scenes here. Right after torture, he immediately confessed. The value of such confession is very questionable, to say the least. We know that the Russian law enforcement has published 4 more suspects, Tajik nationals. 3 out of 4 immediately turned out to Tajik authorities in Tajikistan with proof that they have remained in Tajikistan for quite a few last weeks and physically could not carry out the attack, as they're thousands of miles, thousands of kilometers from Moscow. Russian law enforcement lied trying to show some results of their work when in reality they have no clue who the attackers were. We know that just a couple hours of the attack, ISIS has claimed responsibility. At first I thought it was, just a PR campaign for ISIS. Was not really ISIS, and Russian propaganda has started immediately downplaying the fact, suggesting that ISIS had anything to do with it. It was also trying to say there was just a PR for ISIS. They were saying that the real attackers were sponsored by Ukraine, etc. All those Ukraine theories were crushed today when ISIS started releasing first-person footage of the attackers. Basically, the attackers had cameras on them. Without a doubt, filming was made by the attackers. And the fact that only ISIS has it confirms that it's indeed ISIS behind the attack. No false flag, no inside job by KGB. That most likely was ISIS. We know that there are 4 people detained so far. 1 was taken to Moscow, and Basmanny court just arrested him for 2 months for the time of investigation. And 3 others arrived at Basmanny court later. They are hearing right now their cases, and most likely they'll be arrested for 2 months for the time of an investigation also. They are primary suspects, and 2 pleaded guilty, but again, there are so many questions to this whole thing at this point. Now, I think what happened in Moscow is a tragedy and a betrayal. The betrayal of Russian people by multiple authorities and government bodies. Let's start with the president of Russia. Not only did he know that there was a terrorist attack under planning, as he was informed by the law enforcements, not only did he know, he ridiculed and blamed the informers of blackmail and destabilization of Russian society. He could have paid more attention, and he didn't. Over 100 Russians dead and hundreds are wounded. Then KGB. Its direct responsibility is to protect Russian people from terror. It's what they're paid to do. It's their jobs to identify terrorists and prevent attacks. They could have done their job, but they didn't. The fact that the terrorists entered the CROCUS City Hall in Moscow and started shooting, that was already fail by the KGB, okay? Over 100 Russians dead and hundreds are wounded. That's the result of the failure of KGB, probably its biggest failure in the recent Russian history. No one can say that the KGB is unprofessional in what they do. They're very professional. They kill the armed force defectors abroad, for example, in Spain. They identify, intimidate, and arrest those in Russia who stand against Putin and want government change. They do that very efficiently. They're very smart, professional guys. Yes, they let real terrorists commit atrocities in front of their nose in Moscow. Not only they let attacks happen, they allow terrorists escape freely. Why? Because they don't consider it their job, perhaps. Perhaps because their job is to protect the regime and get rid of the threats to the regime. And that's it, no more. Okay, Enough of the KGB. Let's talk about the police. The KGB is in charge of finding terrorists, and the police is in charge of protecting people on the ground. KGB failed, police steps up and protects people. And these 2 days, something was bothering me. All of a sudden, I was thinking, something wrong, something fishy, something like 2 and 2 does not add up to 4. And all of a sudden, I understood what it was. You see, I myself visited CROCUS Concert Hall quite a few times. I attended concerts there in the past, in the very same place that the shooting took place at. Then I brought my daughter Oля to dance there. Long time ago, when she was still a high school student, she danced competitively. And there were competitions held there at CROCUS Concert Hall. All of a sudden, I understood what was bothering me. The place was always full of police. Every time I went there was a large number of police officers everywhere. And now I know why. In the very same building, and look at the map here, there's a large police station, the police department of the city district Pavshino, just inside the CROCUS Expo. And CROCUS Expo is connected to CROCUS Concert Hall. There's a police station, a real big one with cells with safe boxes full of guns and ammo and fully stocked with policemen. Its address is Международная Street 18. It's located in around 50 meters from the building where the atrocious attack happened. The rumors started to appear that as soon as the policemen heard the shots fired, they simply ran away. Or perhaps they hid. We don't know exactly what happened. Just the policemen who were at the site, they do. But they need to answer us one simple question. Where were they? Where were they at the time of the attack? Police station 50 meters from the attackers. Why it took them 1 hour to show up? It gets better. There was a policeman inside the concert hall when the shooting started, a member of K9 unit with a large German Shepherd dog. And he ran away as soon as the shots were fired. Check this footage out. Now the police claims that it wasn't one of theirs, but the man wore K9 police uniform, sign right there on his shoulder, and there was a large K9 police truck parked right next to the center CROCUS Concert Hall, right in front of the entrance. Also, please check out the footage. You see the terrorists coming out and running right next to the police truck, right by it. What the hell? By the way, the news are still coming out as I speak. They come out every single day. And every day I carefully choose and pick 9 news of what I find important inside Russia and make them available for patrons and sponsors of this channel. If you want to be on top of things, get access and you will have everything you need to understand Russia better. The links are down below in the description for patrons and sponsors only. Do you know how long it usually takes for the police or Rosguardia to show up when someone takes a piece of white paper and holds it above their head in Moscow? That's a sign of modern protesting. Take one single piece of white paper and hold it above head. It takes about 30 seconds. From different sides, Rosguardia and or police runs and, they start dragging that person into their car or a van. And when real terrorists start killing Russian citizens, and it's everywhere in the news live, I, sitting in Uzbekistan, know about it in literally minutes. It takes them 1 hour to get there. Not 30 seconds, not 1 minute, not 5 minutes, not even half hour, 1 hour. They're too busy arresting Alexei Navalny supporters. They're too busy identifying high school students who visit protests. They're too busy arresting scrawny girls standing with pieces of white paper in their hands. Not a single word of apology from anyone. All law enforcement agencies are acting as if they're heroes, and they have responded in a normal, good manner, and they have done the right thing. In reality, they have betrayed the people who they are supposed to protect. Current death toll, 137 people and 180 people wounded. The head of KGB should resign right now. If he doesn't, he needs to be fired from his job. He has failed. His agency has failed. The head of the federal police should resign now. If he doesn't, he needs to be fired from his job. He has failed, and his agency has disgraced itself. All should be fired and replaced with new people. But in Putin's Russia, resignations and firings won't happen. There's not such a thing as officers' honor and conscience anymore. Those people in charge, they've gone too far. They aren't serving people anymore. They are serving the Tsar, protecting him and his power from people. And people's security? Well, their security is in their own hands now. That's what Vladimir Putin is calling stability and security. That's right, but it's his stability, his security. It's all going according to the plan. Really, it's all going according to the plan, but it's Putin's plan. And more chaos to descend upon Russia. And for protection, Russians will have to turn to themselves.